Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to go from this with no makeup to this. Alright guys, so I've already gone ahead and primed and prepped my face. What I mean by that is I usually give myself about 10 minutes to allow my face to settle because when you touch the skin sometimes it can get red and irritated. Mine does at least. So usually what I do is I wash my face. I'll often use Neutrogena makeup removing wipes to get off anything that maybe was stubborn from the night before. And then I will wash my face to make sure I get any, I feel like that stuff can like put weird like residue on my face, so I usually wash my face just with a little bit of water, and then I will use Renewal Hope in a Jar, at least that's what I'm using right now, and I use Lush's Enchanted Eye Cream. Now with the moisturizer, when I put it on, kind of one of my tips is that I make sure I get it like warmed up in my fingers and I pat it onto my face. I don't rub it because I was told that I could get wrinkles and I don't want those, so that's what I do. And then with the eye cream, I keep it in the refrigerator, especially in the morning time. It feels so good to just put it under my eyes. I feel like it really helps wake me up. So these are just kind of two things that I'll swap out of my routine depending on what I'm into, but these are the two products I've been using recently. Also to prep, I will use some sort of lip balm. Of course, EOS is everyone's favorite, at least it's my favorite. And so I'll use something like this just to kind of let it sit on my lips while I do my makeup. And after I do that, I will put on primer, and primer just helps set makeup. Right now I'm using Makeup Forever, and this is the hydrating base. I have dry skin, so I really have to make sure I'm always staying hydrated and using stuff to help my skin stay hydrated. So this stuff has been not only great for that hydration, but also does help keep my makeup lasting a long time. And then I'll use just a little bit of this. This is green because green gets rid of redness. So I'll just put a little bit on my chin area and then a little bit on my cheek where I have kind of scarring, and then by my nose wherever I get redness. And you don't have to do that if you don't have it, but you can go, Makeup Forever has a bunch of different things for different kind of skin types. So after I've waited about 10 minutes to let kind of everything settle down, which I've already done today, I will start. So my favorite foundation ever, it's one of the things that, I like drugstore makeup. Oh, itch nose, itch nose. But this has been my go-to foundation for a very long time. It's kind of my little splurge. So it's the Vitalumiere Aqua by Chanel. And I just love, it has SPF 15, and it is not very heavy coverage. I got blessed with good skin, thank you mom and dad, and so I don't have a lot of things I need to cover up. So, but even if you do have problem skin, this stuff is great and doesn't irritate skin. So I give this a good shake because it tells you to, and it has like a nice little satisfying thing in there that makes a cool sound. I think that's kind of awkward, but yeah, shake it up, shake it off. Anyway, so I use a beauty blender. This is the most unclean it's ever looked, so I apologize for that. But I will use warm water and get the sponge nice and full. Oh God, don't put that in. I'll put the sponge under warm water and make it so it's nice and it gets bigger. I don't know if I can say that without sounding weird. Anyway, and the warmth of it really helps melt the makeup into the skin. So those are just the quick tips to do it. Now I'm gonna show you guys what I do. So I just put the makeup on the back of my hand just so it's like a nice warm palette. Like I said, just warmth helps melt the makeup into the skin. These beauty blenders are a lifesaver. I am telling you, if you've never used one before, ladies and gentlemen, go get yourself one. They're great, and you don't have to get the really expensive one because it's a makeup sponge, and they're great. But what's awesome about this one is it does have curves, so you can really get into those small places. All right. So I usually start at the center of my face and blend outward. And what I'm doing is I'm pressing the makeup into my skin and making sure I'm going to get a nice even coverage. I like to keep it as light on the outside as possible and keep most of it, like I said, in the problem area, which is usually in the T-zone, which the T-zone is this. And then I'll go light on the side of my foreheads, because I have multiple foreheads, if you didn't know this. And like I said, this stuff blends really, really well, so it doesn't look odd, which is nice. Unless you're going for that odd look, then you do it. Now, of course, we do not want to forget one of the most important steps, which is blending down the chin. We do not want a line of makeup and have that weird thing. Sometimes I do put a little bit on my ears just to blend back. You know, we'll call it blending paranoia. Blending paranoia, 101. And then I'll blend down my neck. Usually I just try to use a very little amount of this makeup. You really don't need a lot of it. That's what's so great about it, because one container of this lasts whatever. So yes, so I like to lightly blend down my neck. Usually, just as a tip, if you're wearing something that's gonna go over the face and you don't want to get makeup on your clothing, I like to usually get dressed first, because then there's that like very intense moment. It's like, okay, do not get makeup on the shirt. Usually I do it, so I've learned my lesson wisely. Okay, and straight after that, I'm going to go to a concealer. Right now, I am using this Trish McEvoy. It has 2 colors in it, so I'll kind of do a blend of the both and do a lighter color under my eye, just to, you know, like last night I didn't sleep very well. Nightmares like crazy, so I'm going to put a lighter color under my eye, on the bridge of my nose, my chin, and kind of in that T-zone area, just to kind of really put that brightness out. It's kind of like mild contouring, I guess. Now when I'm doing this, I'm putting it all over my orbital bone and then blending over any problem areas, like I said, making sure that where I want the most coverage, I'm getting it. And then just a dot up on my chin, because I do have a little pimple that came to hang out. So once I feel satisfied with that, I go ahead and I set the makeup. Now, setting the makeup is really important because, at least for me it is, because it's going to hold that makeup in place and not make it too wet where it can be smudged off the face. Now, right now I'm just using a translucent, I like to just use a translucent powder. If you need more coverage, you can use something with a little bit more tone to it. But what I'm going to do is just use a very small amount and then start in that T-zone area again, working my way out towards the chin. And just kind of in a patting motion. And like I said, that's going to keep the makeup from feeling wet and stay longer during the day. One of the things I really do want to reiterate is that when using concealer, because it's adding more makeup to the face, I like to really set it under the eye just to make sure it stays. Now what I'm doing is I'm squeezing my brush to make it smaller and just kind of getting into those smaller places, kind of like the Beauty Blender does. Okay, so usually at this point of my routine, I like to just kind of keep any kind of lip balm on, just make sure that I'm really keeping my lips hydrated and keeping any foundation off the lips, because we don't want to have foundation lips now, do we? That was weird. Okay, anyway. So I'm not an expert at contouring, but I do what I do when I do it. So right now I love Hoola by Hoola bronzer by Benefit is very, very popular, and it's popular for a reason, and it's almost out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it on my brush, and my nice fluffy brush, and I'm going to start at my forehead. Now everyone's contouring is going to be different. What I like to do is kind of move my head around in lighting and see where my shadows are, and I like to just kind of move along those shadows to see where my natural contour is, because unless you want to go heavy and hard on it, then, you know, to each their own. So I just do a little on my forehead and just kind of trace around. Going under the chin. And then I like to go down my neck just to kind of make sure that everything's looking even. And now for how I do my contouring is that you can get a smaller brush, but usually if I'm in a hurry, which is what I'm kind of showing you guys, my daily kind of go routine, I'll squeeze my brush and I'm just going to go down the sides on the bridge of my nose. Now I have a very small nose, so I don't need to do a lot of contouring on my nose, but I do like to give it a little bit of a bronzed plump. And then I'll do the same thing on my chin. And I'm just doing it right here, just to kind of help give it more of a pouty look, because that shadow will kind of make your lower lip look a little bit more plump and pouty. And who doesn't want to look pouty? Now when I go through the cheeks, this is going to vary. God, I hope you can. This is going to vary for each person. Now, like what I said, I like to look at my own personal shadows. And a lot of people will talk about doing a kissy face and just kind of going down, but I don't want to make it too heavy. So what I'm going to do is just look for that natural line. I'll start over here. I'm going to go from my ear and kind of up towards my cheeks, just so I've been trying this lately, trying to make it look like I have a little bit of a plumpier cheek. And now I'm going to try to keep it heavy in that contour, but then I'm going to go outward just to make sure that it's blended and I don't have a very harsh line, because Lord only knows I have done that before, and I am trying not to do that anymore. Blending is your friend. I promise you, when I first started really getting into makeup, I guess I just got very impatient. Once I learned that blending really was going to be my best friend, things started working out a little bit easier for me. I know this is a very time-consuming thing, but I promise once you start working on blending, unless you're already a good blendist, then you'll know that practice makes perfect. So now from that, I'm just going to go straight to blush. Usually I mix my blushes. For my look today, I'm going to mix Coralista, which is a coral, and Rockstar, which is kind of a, I don't know how, like a rose goldy color. But I'm just going to do a pop of each because I don't like to do a whole lot. And I don't blow on my brushes, but I will tap them off just so it's not too much of an intense color. And then you can kind of, people have talked about if the smiling thing is good or not, but I will just kind of make a very small, like, face and look for the apples of my cheek, but I'll go just beside those apples. I won't go right on the apple. And then I go upward, and sometimes I'll blend up to the forehead. Okay, now if you want to add a highlighter, you can if you want. I don't like to do a lot of highlighting. If I do, sometimes I like to use a matte color instead of a shiny one, but I do have both. This is a very beautiful one by Chanel, a very nice champagne color, and this is just a very light foundation from MAC. I'm just going to kind of blend the two together, and what I'm going to do is just find the highest part that the light hits on my cheekbones, and just very lightly, I'm going to put a little bit of a highlighter right there. Like I said, I don't do a lot. If you're wanting to do something a little bit more intense, you can. I do it down the very tip of the bridge of my nose, and then right on the tip of my chin. You can do it down your neck. There's so many tutorials on contouring, so if you want to go check those out, you can, but this is, like I said, just how I like to do it. Okay, so now we're going to work on eyes. I just want to do a quick tip, though. I like to kind of keep things clean so I don't get a lot of different kinds of makeup on my fingers while I'm working. And also, I will keep the Neutrogena wipe around just to clean off the back of my hand and make sure that my work area is clean. And it's quick and easy to do because if I'm in a hurry, that's the most efficient way for me to keep my space clean without it getting too cluttered. Because Lord knows my bathroom has been quite cluttered before. So now to work on the eye look, what I'm going to be doing today is one of my favorite looks. It's a smoky but kind of natural looking eye. And this primer right here, NARS, which I talked about in the first clip, is a lifesaver. It is amazing. It is all I will use for a primer for everything up in here. So I have already primed my eyelids. I just use my ring finger, which is the softest finger, and I just tap through. And then it is a doe foot applicator, so I'll just do a light amount just right under my eye. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight my brow bone. Now what I like to do is I have this Tarte palette, which is all matte colors, and they have a pink, a yellow, and just a kind of light skin tone color. Now the yellow is really good for neutralizing blues. So I like to go in kind of and blend the two together, and then I am using just kind of I don't know what you even want to call this, but it's just kind of a nice flat rounded brush, and it just works really well. Use whatever you want, but I love this brand. They have the cutest stuff. I don't know why I can't remember the name of it right now. I'll have all the links of the products I use down below, but it's cute because it says give crease a chance because it's a crease brush. Anyway, so I've taken that more yellow blended color, and I'm going to use that right in the inner corner of my eye where I do get a little bit of blueness. And I'm going to blend it up and under my brow bone, and as I get to the outer part of my brow, I'm not going to use as much yellow because I don't have any blue undertones there. Maybe a dash of pink. And then just go right under my brow bone, and that's just going to really give the brow that more of an archy look. And if you've seen my videos before, you know I like my archy brows. And then I'm going to take just a little bit and put it right underneath my eye, just to kind of keep some consistency. Now what's great about doing this is it gets rid of a lot of like veins. If you have a lot of veins or whatever in the eye, it helps cover that up without making it look too, I don't know, too makeup-y, if that's the right word to use. But I don't know, that's just kind of what I like to do. Okay, so next, I'm going to go back in with my Hoola bronzer, and I'm going to take the other end of this, which is, I think, is a vital part of a makeup collection, which is a fluffy blending brush. And I am just going to take a very small amount of the bronzing color, and I'm going to just put it all through my crease. Like I said, blending is your friend. You want to really work on that blending, because this is what this is going to do is give the colors, when we actually get to the color palette, a really nice, pretty transition. So it's going to look, we won't have any harsh lines. I also like to take a little bit, and like I did with my big brush, I like to push on it to make it smaller and go just on the outer corner of my eye. Okay, so now that we have a nice kind of palette for blending in the colors, what I'm going to do is take this palette. This is a Chanel palette. It is called Sable, and it's number 37, and it's a duo. I think this might have been seasonal, but it's just a nice champagne color and a really pretty brown color. Both of them are shimmers, so if you don't like to work with shimmers, then use whatever colors you like. But these two I've always found give me a nice natural look. I like to also keep Kleenex around, just kind of fold it up. So if I want to lightly wipe off my brushes, and don't like get at it, but just lightly wipe them off so we're not mixing too many colors. That's just a tip of what I do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I used for going over under my brow, and I'm going to go into that champagne color. And I'm going to start in the wow, Audrey, with your words today. I'm going to start in the center of my eye and just pat the color on so I can get the most pigment I can. Most pigment I can. Sometimes words are not my forte, which is kind of odd because I make YouTube videos. Now I'm just focusing that color, like I said, in kind of the first half near the corner of my eye. And I'm kind of sweeping it a little bit in the corner as well, just to kind of make my eyes pop. I want to make my eyes look bigger. That's why I like to kind of make this my everyday routine. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that fluffy brush and I'm going to go into the color very lightly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pat the color right on the outer part. And I'm going to pat that just so I can get as much pigment right there and just kind of move it under my crease. And when moving towards that champagne color, I'm going to try to be very light. So just trying to really keep it focused right there. Now, when we talk about blending, this is where that part comes in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly blend into the champagne. And then I'm going to come up and around and kind of blend into where we did the bronzer. And like I said, blending is your friend. I'm telling you, just gotta blend, blend, blend. I used to get so impatient, but now I realize how important it really is. Now I'm gonna take a dab of that color, flatten my brush again, and go right under my eye, just on this outer part. Like I said, making those eyes look nice and big. So now that I've done one eye, what I like to do to make sure that that's looking kind of seamless, sometimes I will go back into the bronzer and just go very lightly over the color, but very lightly. I don't want to make it so I'm getting too much color up towards my brow. So I'm using a very light hand. Okay, so I went ahead and did my other eye just because it's very time consuming. But like I said, blend, blend, blend. You will hear that in so many makeup videos. This is another blender that I have. This is the MAC Chip 224. It's very fluffy and very, very lovely. I want to give a shout out to Ari Vincent because Ari Vincent is a makeup artist in Sarasota and she is amazing. I'll put her links down below as well so you can check her out. She does some awesome work. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of eyeliner. Now, when I do this, is I'm using a very dark brown by MAC, and I'm going to use the back of my hand to just kind of warm the product up. And I'm going to tight line my eye as well as go right underneath. Now I'm only going to tight line to about the middle of my eye because I want to keep the darker colors on the outside, and that's what kind of gives that pop look for the eyes. Same with the bottom half. So you can see where I kind of warmed it there. Now what I like to do is kind of take it from the corner, and I'm just going to very lightly just kind of give it a very subtle cat eye because I don't want to do a cat eye with this look because it's already very heavy on the outside. It's almost like you're kind of drawing on a little small lash, almost, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to take it down just a little bit and just kind of barely go over my lash line, almost pressing the liner in there. Okay, now what I'm going to do, just as a quick little extra blip, I'm going to take a matte dark brown, which is in this Tarte palette, and I'm just going to use a liner brush. This one is the same. Oh, it's called the Balm. That's the name of the brand, Doi. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a very small amount, and I'm just going to press that into where the liner was, because it kind of helps set, because this is a creamy liner. A creamy liner, so it kind of helps set in the creamy liner. So like I said, just a little wisp to go on the outside, and then I'm just going to kind of just press it along my lash line. And I'm also going to put it a little bit on my lower lash line, just towards the middle of the eye, like I said last time. And it just kind of brings my little look together. So now that we have most of the eyes done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath my eyes with just, you can use a little translucent powder if you want, or just to sweep off any fallout boys, or just, I don't know if that's even a technical word, but just kind of sweep under the eyes to make sure if any makeup fell that it's not ruining your foundation. You can also use a tissue if you want to hold under your eye when you're doing your eye makeup to make sure that no fallout gets up in there. But pretty much what I like to do is just make sure that I am tapping my brushes and making sure that I don't have a lot of excess pigment so I don't have to deal with a lot of fallout. Now if you're using something that has a lot of fallout regardless, then maybe do your eyes before your foundation, just kind of whatever works for you. But for this routine, I don't need to really worry about that. So now I'm just going to do eyelashes. Now this is something that, you know, is pretty explanatory for some people, but I will show you anyway. So what I'm going to do is making sure that I always use clean things for like a lash curler. I always try to make sure it's clean, and I do not share mascara. I don't really like to share makeup too much anyway. If I do, I always make sure I'm vigorously cleaning the products if I'm doing makeup on other people. Now what I'm going to do is curl my lashes. If you want, you can try to heat it up with a blow dryer a little bit, and that can help. I'm not going to do that today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to crimp as close to the lash line as I can, and then I'm going to come a little bit out and lightly crimp it to just kind of give like a boom and then another boom. 2 booms. And I usually hold it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is usually I like to take 2 different mascaras that have 2 different qualities. There are so many mascaras out there. I usually like to use Clump Crusher and something with more oomph to it, but I do not have my Clump Crusher today, so I'm just going to be using, this is Smashbox Full Exposure Mascara. This is just a little sample version, but I have used it before, and it does kind of have a nice comb through, so it really combs through the lashes. Now when I do my mascara, my trick is that I roll and kind of move it back and forth and try to roll it as close to the lash line as I can. And I try to really think about brushing the lashes. Now, if you do the thing where you bump it on yourself, then obviously that's just like the worst thing in the world. But if it happens, you can try to maybe use a little bit. What I do is I'll take a little bit of that Neutrogena makeup removing wipe, and I'll just kind of lightly touch it and then just do a little touch up to get rid of it so I don't feel like I have to mess up my entire face. Now for the bottom lashes, I like to only kind of keep it majorly, the majority of it on the outer side like I've been talking about with this look. And I don't like to use a lot on my bottom lashes. And then I'll go over again. Usually I'll do 2 to 3 coats of it. Okay, so now that I am pretty much done with all of it, we're going to talk about brows and lips. Now for lips, like I said, we've been keeping them moisturized this whole entire time. And you can use whatever color you like. I'm not going to really go in depth with color, but since I kind of have a heavy eye, I am going to do something a little bit lighter on the lips. Now, I like to do something that's kind of like, they call it, what is it? My Lip But Better. It's like MLBB, My Lip But Better, so your natural lip color, but just like a pop to it. For me, that is this Chanel. It's a double-ended majigger my mom gave me, but it's one of the, which one is this? Soft Rose. But it's one of the ones that stays. It's a stain. So I like to be really careful with it when I'm doing it. When I'm using this, I don't want to go too heavy, so I try to really blend it with my finger. How about a dime for every time I've said the word blend or blending during this series? So like I said, with the lips, what I did was I just outlined my lips just a little bit more than my natural lip, and just to kind of give that full, I've been trying to want to like do a more like plump full lip lately, but yeah, just try to kind of make it look, like I said, my lips but better. So now I'm going to talk about brows. Now brows have, I've always been kind of known about my archy brows. I have naturally very, very thick, kind of Audrey Hepburn-y brows, but pretty much what I like to do is I like to take an angled brush and I will go from different browns and start with a lighter brown and then go to a darker brown as I progress outwards towards the end of the brow. So, ooh, you have a little escapee there. So what I like to do is when I arch my brow, I like to see where the arch is, and it's the same thing I talked about, moving up with and down with the contouring, kind of seeing where that brow line really looks most natural. You can be doing more of an arched brow, it's whatever you want to do, but for me, I like to do this kind of arched look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit more of like a dark outer part and kind of blend in towards the front of my brow just to keep it blended. Now remember guys, eyebrows are not twins, they're sisters. So if you freak out that they're not exactly the same, don't worry, they're supposed to, like I said, be sisters. I learned that from Michelle Phan, who I've met. Oh, she was so cool. Okay. Now when you're thinking about brows as well, there is the trick to where you can take a pencil and you can line it up through the middle of your irises, the edge of your eyes, to find the kind of natural brow shape you're working with. It just depends on your own brow, what you want to do. So if you have any comments or anything about that kind of stuff, leave them down below and I'll try to help you guys out to the best of my ability. And remember guys, with makeup, I love it because it feels like a fun ritual. I put on my Netflix and I love makeup. I think it is so much fun. I think that it relaxes me and you don't have to go full-fledged all the time. I know I don't, but it's fun to experiment and see what feels right for that day. And I often encourage people to go with no makeup to give yourself a little bit of freedom, and I found that going out with no makeup and giving myself confidence made me really appreciate the art of makeup in general. But of course that varies for everyone, so to each their own. But I hope you enjoyed and I hope you dig this look. Like I said, it's kind of my everyday trying to, if I'm filming a lot or going out to meetings, this is the kind of look I like to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I will see you guys next time.